Trax is sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Can-Am, time for some off-road living. And by Yamaha, revs your heart.
Gateway Canyons Resort is located almost directly on top of the Utah-Colorado border. With Utah's famous slick rock and sandy riverbeds on one side and Colorado's incredibly rugged mountains on the other, this was the perfect location for Yamaha to showcase the Wolverine R-Max 1000's ability to conquer any terrain you can throw at it.
I got the email from my friends at Yamaha. The invitation came out to go to this wild adventure out in Utah and Colorado. Unfortunately, AJ and Luke were already on assignment, so it was up to me to come through. The idea of this adventure was to ride this in some terrain that was really ideal for testing the limits of the R-Max 1000. So, we were going to cover rocky terrain, high elevations. There was going to be some outstanding scenery.
With the location that we chose here today, we're out in Colorado, kind of right outside of Grand Junction, bordering even in Utah, where that was part of our trip as well. The great thing about this area, the first day, it's all high desert, so you get a lot of washes and everything we can go through, even some good elevation stuff, great landscapes and great canyons you can see through.
So the route for the ride was going to be, we were going to cover over 200 miles over 2 days. The one day, we were going to cover the Utah side, which is basically the backside of Moab. And then day 2, we were going to cover the Colorado side, which was completely different, a little higher elevations, more greenery. The terrain that we were riding on ranged from logging roads to really tight, rocky trails, which was great for testing comfort levels of the R-Max. You have the on-dash button where you can turn it from sport riding to trail riding to crawling. And it was great because we got to test all of those different functions.
Well, one of the key things we started doing a few years ago, the marketing team came up with an idea of the 3 C's: comfort, capability, and confidence. And we actually thought of a way to apply those 3 C's to our development process too. Coming to Gateway Canyon here in Colorado and Utah, right on the border, it was really important that we were able to show the media in attendance and the consumers that are going to ride in the next couple days capability, comfort, and confidence. Confidence to us is really the durability in the machine, confident that you're going to get back to the truck, back to camp, back to the resort. Comfort, of course, comfortable suspension, comfortable tires, smooth and quiet engine, low vibration, really enhancing that comfortable, less fatigue, because we were riding for 8 hours, 100-mile loops. It was really important to make sure everyone's comfortable, of course. Capability-wise, there's a huge variety of terrain here. It's one of the key reasons we came here, was to show the drastic difference in terrain that they have here.
One of the things I was most surprised about was how well each of those functions worked. The sport setting, for instance, was great along the logging roads. I got the vehicle up to 73 miles an hour, and it really punches when you give it the throttle. When we were climbing on the tighter trails that weren't as rocky, I had it in the trail setting, which was nice. It gives a softer delivery to the throttle, which is great, so you're not getting any whip. And then when we got into the really rocky stuff, which there was plenty of, we put it in crawl mode, and it was even softer than the trail mode, so it really gives you the perfect amount of power to climb up those rocks.
Probably the biggest thing with the Wolverine R-Max 1000 is the 1000. We've had the Wolverine 850 in the past, exceptionally smooth, exceptionally quiet, and it had a very good torquey feel to it. But we really, for areas like this, it's really going to shine through where people really need that horsepower. At these higher elevations, we're obviously starved for oxygen, so it's important to have as much horsepower as possible, but make it smooth and manageable. So we've got that great torque feel from the engine, but we also accentuate it with a D-mode system, our drive mode system. We've got sport, trail, and crawl, which really, again, matches what you're looking for in the different types of terrain that you're coming up to, but you still get 100% of that 1000cc power in all those situations. It's just delivered in a much different way in all 3 modes, so I think that was something important.
It was just such a scenic, it was super hot, so we just kept moving to keep cooled down a little bit. But when we got to the top of this first vista, our first stop, we were told it was actually an area where dinosaurs once roamed, and sure enough, we got off and there was fossilized dinosaur footprints in the rocks, which were really amazing. Admittedly, by the end of the day, I was feeling a little peckish, a little tired. And when we came around the last corner and I saw the Gateway Canyon Resort at the bottom of the hill, and very excited. I knew we were gonna get some food and some rest. The adventure itself, quite honestly, I haven't been on a media ride where we've covered that much territory in one day. And it kind of flew by. It was just really enjoyable.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by MTB Performance Exhaust, built for the victory lap.
After a great day of riding on day one, got a good rest, but today was going to be completely different. We were going to be hitting the Colorado side, which was really lush and green. We were going to be reaching elevations up to 11,000 feet. It was going to be a little cooler, a little more comfortable up that high, and I was excited about that. We were still going to cover over 100 miles.
The next day we went on a really high elevation, up to almost 11,000 feet, but it's all aspens and pine trees. You get a lot more rockier, tighter trails and everything too. So it just shows the overall diversity of the RMAX 1000.
So this adventure was a little different than other ones that we've been on, because oftentimes on these media rides, you're doing little loops. But with this adventure, we were actually riding trails that we didn't know where we were going. We were following a leader and we knew it was going to be a long journey up. So we saw the mountains on the right-hand side, hit that trail, and from there we were riding along mountainsides, kind of a crazy, gnarly, treacherous ride. Really exciting. I have to admit my heart was pounding at times, because one bad move and it could have been dangerous.
One of the key things right off the bat is the CVT system. The Yamaha Ultramatic system really is important. Again, on a 100-mile loop like we're doing for the last 2 days in a row. And it really is more convenient for people to not have to put their vehicle in low range. You know, if they come up to a steep rocky climb, they can leave it in high range if they want to. Of course, they might prefer the feeling in low range, but unlike other CVT systems, leave it in high range. You're not gonna, since we have constant belt tension, you're not gonna have a high belt temperature, you're not gonna damage your belt in that situation. From a durability standpoint, again, our chassis, the tires, all the specs of tires we have are 8-ply rated radials, whether it's from Maxxis or GBC, and that's really important. There's a lot of sharp rocks here, a lot of trail obstacles. It's important to have a really rugged, durable tire because we're really far away from camp, and that's important. People want to feel like they're gonna get back. We've got class-leading suspension travel on both vehicles, especially the RMAX 2. We've got 14.2 inches in front, 16.9 in the back. We really need all that travel to give everybody the comfort they're looking for, but of course keep the tires in contact with the ground and create the great traction that you're looking for. And on the RMAX 4, 14.2 in the front, 13.9 in the back. We did a great job. We're very proud to work with Fox. QS3 setup on the XTR models and the base models. Very easy to switch back and forth between soft, medium, and hard, or position 1, 2, and 3. But then on the LE models, which is really convenient here, we've got the IQS system from Fox, which is push button in the cab, firm, medium, and comfort setting. So again, it's very easy and convenient for people to actuate that right in there from the seat.
You know, for me and our crew, we see a lot of amazing places in our adventures, and I really took this opportunity on the Colorado side after almost riding 200 miles at this point, to really take in every turn, every vista, every mountain peak, and just appreciate where we were, and to realize that, you know, without being able to ride side-by-sides or ATVs, we wouldn't be able to see this stuff. This is really a great opportunity for people to get out there and see things that you would not be able to normally see. I am very fortunate that I was able to attend this trip and see the things that I saw.
If after watching this story you're thinking to yourself, man, I'd really love to try out an RMAX on rugged trails like these, you're in luck. Yamaha's Destination Yamaha program gives you the opportunity to take an RMAX out for a ride from a number of participating locations on real-world ATV trails, many just as challenging as the ones you've seen today.
The great thing about Destination Yamaha is that it's a multifaceted tool, if you will. Customers can go out, they can experience, even if they have an X2 or an RMAX 1000, they can go to some epic landscapes and epic riding locations they may have never been able to reach before or trail their vehicle out with before. So they can go to those Destination Yamaha locations, they can rent a vehicle exactly like theirs and have that same experience with their friends and their family. On the flip side, if they're interested in buying a vehicle, but they want to give a real world test ride with it and they can't get to one of our demo locations, then Destination Yamaha is another perfect location they can go to. They can experience another great ride in the vehicles. And of course, best of all, they can experience the proven off-road prowess that our vehicles have.
The Wolverine took us to this location without fail, took everybody there. We didn't have a breakdown, we didn't have an issue. You know, we were out there in the middle of nowhere, and the greatest thing about being an ATV and side-by-side enthusiast is that you can see things that other people can't see.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Otto. Make it work.
So I'm pretty excited for today's story here at Dirt Trax. We've got a couple fans of the show coming up to ride with us, and they're not who you might typically consider to be fans of the show. First of all, we have Dean McDermott, who most people would know either from hosting the show Chopped or from his reality shows that he had with his wife, Tori and Dean. But Dean is also an actor and has been in just a huge list of movies over the years. So he's coming up to ride with us. He's a Motorhead, loves side-by-side riding, so that's pretty cool. The other person who's coming up to ride with us is basically a Canadian hero in some ways. He's a multi-time figure skating champion, both world and in Canada alone. He is a two-time Olympic silver medalist. He's also a multi-time martial arts champion. The person I'm talking about is Elvis Stojko. If you are Canadian, you immediately recognize that name. I mean, this guy was on cereal boxes when I was a kid. He is probably one of the biggest motorheads ever. Loves dirt bikes, grew up dirt biking, loves ATVs, side-by-sides, watercraft, boats, cars, trucks, everything. And these two guys are actually good friends, and they side-by-side together. So they contacted us and said, hey, we'd love to come up and ride with you guys sometime. We said, absolutely, come on up, and that's happening today. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know these guys better and just see what drives them in the off-road world and just get to know them as people. So that's the plan for today, and we're excited to bring you guys along with us.
So Luke's fueling up the vehicles, and well, I brought fuel for all of the people because we need that before going out on the trail. Equally as important, today's gonna be fun. We're riding with Elvis and Dean. This is super cool. They reached out and got in touch with us, which I'm, stoked about because they watch the show, like the show. Elvis is a complete off-road nut. He's a power sports guy, motocross guy, off-road person. So I'm super stoked, and he got Dean into off-road. So this is gonna be a cool day. I mean, I really have, I don't know what to expect because I've never met these guys before, only talked on the phone, but they sound really cool, and I think we're gonna have a blast going out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for sharing the day with my kids.
No, you're gonna do it, buddy. Yeah, no, it's kind of hard.
We're gonna get it on film. Yeah. Crank the wheel.
So what got me into riding side-by-sides really was, living down in Mexico was the location that we were at. When side-by-sides came out back in around 2008 and Razor brought out their little 800, I always wanted one because in our little town where I used to live, all the roads along the lakeside and going down into the town, all cobblestone and narrow. And I thought this would be a great vehicle to get around town because you just needed your plate and you could drive anywhere, kind of like we do in some of the towns, some of the smaller towns with ATVs.
What got me into side-by-sides? Elvis Stojko. I met Elvis last year. I was up here working on a TV series, and we had a mutual friend, so he introduced me to Elvis, and Elvis has a chunk of property just north of the city, and he took me out in this. The very first time I was in a side-by-side, and I was hooked, so I ended up buying it. This is my machine now.
I grew up riding motocross bikes and started when I was 7, so I was into that, ATVs, and then when these came out, I thought, this is really great. So when we moved back to Canada, I was like, I gotta have one. If we're gonna have property, I'm gonna have one. So I ended up getting myself the XP 1000, and then when I met Dean, I got him hooked, and then he bought my machine, and then I ended up getting an X3.
I found out about Dirt Trax and the Lester boys, again, through Elvis Stojko. He turned me on to it, because once I got hooked on side-by-sides, he introduced me to the whole world. He showed me all the different makes and models you can get, and then he introduced me to Dirt Trax. And he said, if you want any kind of riding lessons or breakdown of product or modifications, these are the guys. Aside from, all the shiny toys, they're great hosts, very informative. So I got hooked on the show, and I can't believe I'm actually here doing the show now, a year later. I just wish one of my kids was sitting next to me.
Oh, heck yeah.
Because it's just it's so much fun.
Yep.
Ultimately like to get a 4-seater.
Yep.
So I could take a bunch of the kids.
Yep.
But take them camping and fishing.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
These machines are amazing too, because this is the first time I had it in 4.
Oh, yeah.
Right there,
Yeah.
I'm like, this thing will handle it, no problem.
Yep.
Just feather throttle, really good. And then when I saw you go, I'm like, okay.
So how's the rack going so far?
Absolutely amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it. I am in love with technical trails. It's the first time that I've done something that technical. And wow, man, it's so much fun.
I'd be disappointed if you weren't dirty.
I
really would.
That means I wasn't keeping up with you close enough.
You're like brushing the dust off. I'm like, oh, look at that. There's
Yeah.
Good.
Windshield and you're in the front.
Yeah. After we'd ridden for the morning, super hungry, Dean and Elvis obviously were pretty hungry too in the crew, so we went to Halliburton, a really great little restaurant right on the edge of town called Baked and Battered, and we took them there for lunch. After that, we thought it'd be really fun to take the guys to one of our sort of top secret test tracks, a spot we go to do a lot of comparison testing between sport side-by-sides in particular. And Elvis is a real technical Motorhead kind of guy. He doesn't just upgrade things because it's shiny and it looks cool. Everything he's done to either of these vehicles was for a specific purpose.
Yeah. Dude, when you come through here and take off, this thing just spits.
It sounds so good too.
Hail of dirt.
I know. Well, it's a nice little spot. You can go in. I brake really late in the first one, get the front end on, let it sit and just pin it. Whack. Then a little bit of brake in here.
Yep.
Let it set, pin it.
Hit it.
Right. It's awesome.
This thing is unbelievable. And you don't want to drive behind them.
No, it's abusive. All right, when he comes around this time, I'm going for him. So at one point, AJ decided he was going to try and chase Elvis around the test track in the Viking 700 single Viking, and that didn't really go very well. After that, we'd been there for quite some time, and we were it was hot out, just smoking hot. So we thought, let's go to a cool spot.
This is amazing.
Right there. This is awesome.
You kids, you gotta get off your iPhones and Androids. Get outside. Get in a side by side.
Didn't take 5 seconds before everybody's like, we're in the water. We were all sitting around in the river for a bit. I don't know, it's kind of funny, 4 dudes just sitting in the river, but got to hear more about Dean and his family and learn about his life growing up and things like that. And Elvis talked a lot about his career and his history. So it was nice to sit there and get to know them. And they really wanted to get to know AJ and I as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Absolutely good. Yeah.
That was the water, guys. Glorious.
Absolutely perfect.
I raced those. After that, it was time to go home. I knew that Elvis really liked the technical riding, so we took a little bit more time on the technical trail. They had a great time. Elvis and Dean were they couldn't stop talking about how much fun they were having, and Dean in particular, how awesome this was because he doesn't have as much riding experience. So for him, a lot of these experiences were brand new. Elvis was he couldn't stop talking about how awesome it was to be out
riding with dirt tracks, and us telling him our experiences and him telling us his experiences. It was really cool. Awesome day, just a spectacular day. It included everything that ATV should include. It included mud and rocks and high speeds and friendships and food, of course, and poutine if you're from Canada. It was the perfect day.
Dirt Trax has been sponsored by Hercules Tire. Ride on our strength. Gemco Cargo Boxes. Be prepared for anything. And by Mad Ramps. Leave the trailer and go.